Pop, snap.
Okay, so here's the funny story. We've already filmed this once. Rob left the cord unplugged.
So we had no sound. So welcome to episode 53.
That might be some people's favorite episode yet.
Yeah, it was really good, let me tell you. But anyway, so just to recap, 53, no dancing this week. Maybe episode 104. Chippendales, Patrick Swayze, Chris Farley type thing, possibly, not guaranteeing.
That's probably why no dancing this week.
Yeah, my palate cleanser is Wilmington Whip from Riceville Beach Brewery, Vermont Kolsch from the Flying Machine, Flannel Mouth from Blake's, Clown Shoes, Eagle Claw Fist.
Hey Rob, I'd like to say, when drinking Clown Shoes Eagle Claw Fist, this is a heavy-duty IPA. Why not sit down and check out Space Force?
There's one in my refrigerator, and I may watch the rest of Space Force. Great little Steve Carell show, and so forth. Maybe Dude-ified type thing. Chick over here didn't quite like it. Her husband loved it. Okay,
cool.
So that brings us back to
so we've already poured our
Snap that
taster, guys.
Oh, pouring outside. Okay, cool, thanks.
Vanishing Tides, Mother Earth, Kinston. Mother Earth is Kinston. Kinston is Mother Earth. Yeah, great, awesome lager right there. We can't figure out if we're talking about climate change or just the tides going out, and bam, that's where we're at.
Okay, we're back. So, lagers. You really like lagers. I think you're going to be happy this year. I was getting ready to say this. So, I think you're going to be happy this year because all the trade publications are saying lagers are coming back in force this year.
I enjoy a nice lager.
And we have had a lot more lagers come out this year.
Mm-hmm. As well, I think we've seen lagers that have been in brewers' portfolios are now coming to front and center, which also means
pushing them more.
They may be paying closer attention to those recipes as they release them. Whereas the lager used to be that fourth can in the variety pack.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's a slot people are looking for.
Yeah.
That's one. I know I probably mentioned this in an episode before, but lagers are a go-to thing for me when I go to a new brewery, and I always taste. If they have a lager on the docket, I'm tasting it because they're not super easy beers to make. But
they're super easy to drink.
Exactly. So they have very low ingredients. So if you mess up one little thing, you can tell. So a lot of the times I base quality off of the lager of a brewery.
The other thing too is most of the American beer drinkers, outside of craft beer drinkers, are more familiar with lagers.
Exactly. Especially the flavors that lagers
because
provide.
Your big 2, big 3, whatever are
big tier beers.
Sure, yeah. Your big brands, that's the category they work from, lager pilsner. And there's a reason why, the grand tradition of German brewing and all that.
And you get that cleaner taste, the cleaner texture, all of that going on with the lager. Everything about a lager is built for drinkability.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
So let's talk some about this lager.
I think that may also be a reason why lagers kind of went out of fashion for the craft beer drinkers, because
they were so much
I'm getting away from my dad's beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I agree with you.
Everyone has the rebellious.
This has a Bavarian sort of style to it. Very.
I agree.
Sure.
Very light, very crisp.
I think the floral notes,
it's
the way those esters come through ties in exactly to what we're talking about. The Bohemian, you're going to get a little more of like your sugary malt. Here you're getting something very floral, some hop essence.
Mm-hmm.
Am I kidding? Is that just a floral note that I'm not able to put my finger on, or am I getting like a biscuity note?
There is the biscuity malts because it's like a little bit of like super lightly roasted malt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're even called biscuit malt.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely closer. I'd say it's closer to the Czech style than the German style easily.
Okay.
I think so too. Especially after
something
we had
like
that.
Stella.
Yeah.
What was the one we had from Czech that
well, we had the Bohemian Pilsner.
Not the Budweiser, but the
Czech.
Czech bar.
Yeah.
It's the historical version of Budweiser before it became Budweiser.
It definitely has a big nose for such a light, easy beer.
Yeah. This is definitely a good little summer beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I love the artwork on the can. They actually have it mentioned.
Morning on
the Intercoastal Waterway.
Intercoastal Waterway, yep.
Only 4.2%, by the way, which kind of
very
interesting.
sessionable, very crushable throughout the day.
Yeah, it is a thoroughly enjoyable beer.
$2.75 comes in a nice little 12-ounce can.
I like that.
You know, guys, as you
I think that's the first time
as you
I've
push towards the equator versus at the pools, tides have smaller and smaller differential, and so this could be something about more of that like getting down to a lower feel. It's also the intercoast. Yeah, it's just something there. I really wonder.
So
about
it's like
that
it's
tidal.
like I'm fishing
The
for
fact
snow
that we're
and
looking
ice
at
Yeah.
a named
in
piece of
Florida.
art, yeah, I think there's more with this title. Plus, Solar Brewery, preserving the earth, written right on the can.
Well, yeah, Mother Earth's definitely.
I'd love to hear the whole story.
Yeah,
behind
they're
that title.
definitely an eco-centric type.
Yeah, they're
brewery.
100% solar powered tap room. They reuse water for conservation, and they just use a ton of recycled products.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Some stuff to know about. 275, 4.2, 12-ounce can. Great stuff.
It's also a cool tap room if you've never been there.
Also, did you guys notice that label does not slip from your hand when it's wet?
So that is
She
a
has a problem.
drawback
She has
for
a problem
me.
with these labels.
Okay.
Yeah, sensory wise, it does bother my hands a little
okay.
bit. I'm not a huge fan of that like
It has a
awkward
texture.
matte.
The Mac
Okay.
finish.
So you can always pour it in a glass.
Yeah,
Right?
whenever
Like, it's always-
Christina is
It definitely won't
stocking
slip
beer.
from your hand. What?
No, it's got a thickness.
Whenever Christina's stocking beer, there's always like two reactions you can hear across the shop. One is, well, I can't really get into that one, but it's
So what you're
just when she
saying
knocks
is-
stuff over in the cooler. And then the other one is,
It has
ooh,
some very colorful
another one of
language.
those labels.
Yes,
IPA
those are my
guys?
two things.
Before the.
Yeah, let's go with IPA.
Yeah, I recently dropped a beer right on my toe, and I have a giant black toenail.
I'll let you.
It's wonderful.
It's pretty bubbly.
That's funny for me.
Yeah. Guys, dig in. This is Moylan's Hazy
This is
Craze
live.
Indian
Like
Pale
live,
Ale. They
too.
describe it as a live ale. Keep refrigerated in bold red letters. Listen, guys, just the amount of time this stuff was sitting on my floor before I got it stocked up and properly stored, we felt expansion on these. We definitely believe what they are saying, live ale.
I mean, you can see it as it pours.
And
Look,
I
you
think
guys watch
during our
this.
review tonight, we're definitely going to discuss what does this mean, live ale.
Like, watch Rob's glasses.
Haze Craze, guys, over the top,
It's
right
literally
away.
growing as you pour it.
It is
Ooh.
hazy. It is colloidal. That is like,
Are you
So,
picking up that
keep refrigerant
perfumey
right there.
smell
yes.
on the
As
nose?
soon as I opened it, the first word that came to mind was Esther's. So you'll
Yeah.
probably hear me talk about it all night. When we did the first cut,
Super.
I opened my can with everyone else. So this can's been open almost 15 minutes now.
Oh wow.
So the foam has been slowly growing out of the top of it, just the way you see it in each of our glasses. Steady lace, and that smell has just been like bombarding me this entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way like open champagne does. You can smell them bringing champagne over, just because it's bubbling and those esters are popping.
Oh, yeah. The protein that you got going on is.
The bottle. Will you put that in my ice now?
Oh
Let it stick
sure
there.
thing. Yeah.
This
Comes in a pint-sized can, you guys. Moylan's. They're out of California.
Yep. U.S. brewed, U.S. canned.
Haze
So
Craze
Moylan's does
IPA.
another beer that we have quite regularly and is a big hit around here, and that's their dry Irish stout.
Yeah, they have a good one.
This I'm waiting to try. I have this is another one that's sitting in my refrigerator.
This is-
I've had another one of theirs that's either like cranberry or raspberry or it's some sort of fruit IPA that they have. Has this little like fruit guy
they
on
do
the
have
front.
a really well-known Scotch ale they do too.
Yeah.
Kilt Lifter.
All right, so I'm letting it settle. Big nose.
The texture is just something really cool.
That's a strange little palate.
So it has the emblematic citrus tones, those OJ, the blah blah blah.
Yeah, but there's something else going on there.
I like it because I can taste the hops in this hazy for once. Like there's actually hops I'm picking up.
It's
in the palate.
hazy, but it's not as crazy as we've seen some of these
And
other
it's
ones.
not
For
just
me,
straight
there's
juice.
almost like a caramel on the back end, like a Werther's Original type thing going on.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm not picking that up yet.
It's not like cloyingly sweet
At the end?
at the end for me, but it does have. We talk about how there's a sweetness to brut champagnes, to these
Like if I
to
swirl
brut.
around
This
towards the
reminds
back
me
of the mouth.
more of like that brut IPA feel.
Did you pour all of the can in yours?
Oh
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah,
The
you
rest
might
of
have.
it.
You might
No,
have
there's
some.
still a little bit.
Yeah, but look at the color of
We
yours
have-
compared to
Look at that
hers.
creaminess. So that almost pushes towards like what we call like your milkshake style.
I love a milkshake style IPA because of the creaminess,
there's
the
any,
texture. So there's still a
residual
little
on
bit
the-
left.
So Rob, I want you to talk about the fruit tones that you're getting because since you got that yeast pour, you may be
See that?
experiencing more like tropical fruit
That-
tones.
Oh yeah, it started
Pineapple and
getting
stuff
really.
like that. Whereas
There's
like we
no
may
way you
only
guys-
be looking at the citrus spectrum there. I
No
wonder
way
if
you guys are gonna be able to see that, but do you
So-
look,
that's
Rob?
what you would see, right?
So yeah. As far as what you were saying, the fruit,
you guys
the
are probably gonna
citrus
get a little
is
bigger bouquet.
lower,
Mhm.
and I think you're right. I think it's more tropical.
It's not quite mango though. It's still.
I get the pie,
I
kind
do
of like the
too.
mild,
but
mild
it's
tropical.
but it's a sweeter
Almost like dried papaya.
yeah, it's a sweeter
Yeah.
tropical fruit. But at the back end, I'm still getting,
I
and maybe
definitely-
because I've got the
I mean, you guys, do you see?
It's
Yeah.
not.
Oh, yeah.
typical
Glass?
dry
Oh
finish.
yeah, yeah. The
It's
helix,
not
It's not
almost
a
like
typical dry finish. It's
the helix going down.
To
right
me,
back
it
to
doesn't
yours.
really have a big finish. It kind of like flattens out at the end
It's
for me.
it's relatively clean tasting.
I think it might be because I've got some of a lot of the particulates.
I mean, I'll be completely
From the
honest
bottom
with you.
of the
Looking
can.
at it,
I think
the
so,
more I
too.
look at it, I'm getting a little grossed out by it. And that's just me just watching it like,
Well,
and also drinking bad
you know,
beer before.
From somebody who
the haze
who has-
crazed. You're getting haze crazed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For someone who's had a lot of wine and the you get the particles at the bottom of the wine.
Traditionally,
The
you
wine
don't,
diamond.
traditionally you don't pour every drop.
No, because that especially red wine, that's gonna throw a lot of tannins into it. But I'm not opposed to seeing,
Something.
you know, like she's
I'm mixing
making
it and
a little
it's
bit.
a little bit better. But I'll be completely honest, it was kind of giving me heebie-jeebies there for a minute.
So we're going to talk about this. Let's talk about this. What is this live ale?
Let's see.
Well, I have an idea. I know you guys know. So why don't you guys let us know
I
and
have
see
an
if my
idea as
idea
well,
is
but-
right.
Are we gonna
I
play
like hearing the.
Are we gonna play rock paper scissors for this?
Or
one?
would you like us giving guesses and then you tell us
I-
what
how
we're right
about
on?
you
Rob
guys
thinks
start.
it knows. I'm pretty sure I know. Christina's like, yeah, I think I got it.
I
And
think
Josh
I
is
know, but I'm
very
not
sure.
really sure.
Yeah. No.
So,
I 110% know, but I just want to see.
do you want me to take a hack?
I want
and
to
see
hear
if-
everybody's like perspectives.
So I think the live ale is a bacteria added to the beer
Okay.
that keeps, it stays alive, it's doing extra stuff, but I don't know what that extra stuff is.
So for
So that's
me,
my thought
I
process.
think that the live ale is actually live yeast,
Okay,
Mhm.
and they haven't killed the yeast, so it's continuing to
continue to
ferment.
ferment in the can. Yeah.
That's why it needs to stay refrigerated, because if it stays out air temperature, it's going to keep fermenting and it will explode.
So, yeah, both biotic growth bacteria and yeast could produce CO or other gases output to continue the expansion. The volume of liquid in there is the volume of liquid. It's not going to expand. The only thing that can expand a liquid is temperature at that point. So the gas expanding shows us that there would likely be further fermentation going on. I think that yeast is going to produce far more air and volume than bacteria would. And bacteria would be more oriented towards changing color, haze, or adding subtle tones like milk tones or things like that.
So because this is hazy, she may be right on bacteria.
So I'm going to go with both.
Correct. So yeast is technically what? A fungus
Yeast is the yeast.
Yeast is yeast, but
or bacteria?
there's
It is
technically.
it's a single yeast
It is a single organism bacteria.
Yeah, yeast and fungus are thought of on the similar end of the kingdoms. However, yeast isn't actually fungus.
Yeah,
it is its own thing.
Yeast is yeast, but I'd say yeast is closer to bacteria.
Bacteria.
I like it because it's different.
Yeah.
Yeast. This is tough. One of the reasons why you might argue
No,
this
yeah.
is because yeast can be motile. Yeast can move towards food, whereas fungus isn't going to move towards food. It's going to evolve towards food.
It's already food, right?
Oh,
Mushroom.
it's a living organism. It's got to consume something. There has to be output, throughput. So we're talking about the different kingdoms of the living world, okay? Viruses, by the way, are not in the kingdoms, okay? What we're talking about is essentially fungi and yeast. Yeast is like the prokaryotic
Yeah.
fungi of the world, whereas the prokaryotic of like bacteria would be the protozoa and things like that, which
That
is
can
its
grow in the
only
chains
single
and-
cell nuclei organisms.
Yeah.
One of the
And
main
yeast tends to function like that, but
One
it has
of
a
the-
colony function as well.
all in
Not
all,
My head is hurting.
everyone is
I said
mostly
he's fine.
correct. The only
College.
incorrect thing, the only thing I can say is it's probably not bacteria.
It probably is just the yeast.
It probably is yeast because anytime you have a live beer, Rob pretty much hit the nail on the head. Secondary fermentation. Champagne is a primary example where you use some of the yeast present.
And
Actually,
spin
they
the-
add more to
Yeah,
it.
well, they add use
more,
some
they
present and
spin
you
the
add
bottle,
more
Do
to
we
it.
call
put
that
it at
bottle
the
conditioning?
angle.
Yeah, so bottle condition, can condition, live ale, all of it is basically. A
It's
lot of the
making it
times when you have stuff on a shelf, you'll pasteurize it, aka you effectively can boil it or steam the cans and stuff to stop everything,
Stop fermentation.
to stabilize the product. Live means they don't do that. You definitely want to keep it cold because if the yeast is at a temperature where it's active, it will explode eventually unless you somehow magically hit the exact
So
right.
this lists the ABV at 6.2. That was when it was canned.
That's right.
So
Within a variance level.
Yeah, it probably is stronger than that,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Especially those that may have sat on a shelf for a few days.
There could be bacterium in here, but the only reason I'm leaning towards not saying that there is because there's no off flavors from that. Bacterium have a tendency to take alcohol and digest it further. Like acetobacter will take alcohol and turn it into acetic acid, aka vinegar. You know, you get fruit flies in wine, bam, balsamic vinegar.
Which might be the answer
So,
to our garbage.
It
dump,
does
by
come
the
in
way.
a pint can,
Anaerobic
guys.
acetobacteria.
It's a little on the pricier side, but again, you're also buying a little bit of an experience with
Yeah,
this beer.
I agree.
It's a $4.50 pint can, so not anything outrageous, but definitely pricier than
It's
what we.
$4.50 pint.
Yeah, it's a $4.50 pint.
It's giving me champagne burps.
I'm getting a lot of burps.
Yeah, I am
Lot.
getting-
Just to follow up
Carbonation.
on Mr. Wizard's quick little episode there, I'm going to say if it has bacteria, the bacteria cultures are innocuous at this point. They were used during the brewing to produce ester flavors. And then what we're talking about, the live
Is
ale,
something probably
we're-
added near the end.
we're going with a can condition, bottle condition, extra yeast, extra sugar. So not to totally just beleaguer that point.
Yeah, there's
Getting
just
a lot of
there's so many
those.
interchangeable terms you can
Yeah.
use for all this stuff. It's ridiculous.
I love it. Let's move on. Is everybody ready?
Yeah, but
I
I
need to
gotta clean
get-
out my glass.
Yeah, my glass needs to be cleaned out.
Although I did clean out my glass with more beer and it's foamed up even more.
Well, here's a question. Does anyone have a bottle opener for this next one?
I had one in my pocket
And
earlier.
Josh has one. Josh always has
Oh, what do we got? Here, pop me, Doc.
one.
So who brought in Masagave?
That would be.
This girl.
That's awesome. So I'm interested to
Because
try
that
this
was-
because we tried something like this about a year ago.
It
At the
would be
beginning of
that
the
guy.
show. Yeah.
It would be last year's vintage.
Yeah.
Masagave
Is a
by
yearly-
Founders is a once a year brew. It's one of those special brews.
Will you do that to mine too?
Yeah, 'cause
that's
I-
got Kolsch in it.
I put some
I tried.
really wood wit in it, and it's still there.
It just foamed up real bad.
Just be glad.
Alright, we're gonna
just be
rinse our
glad
glasses,
I didn't make you
guys.
guys put this in that glass because
Yeah, we're gonna rinse for sure.
But you guys are drinking with some cider, rinsing with cider.
This is Christina's. That's Rob's.
So one thing about Mas Agave is because it's a yearly brew.
Every year is a
flavor-
little bit different.
Excuse me. Whoa.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The last year's vintage, so to speak, wasn't as light as
I did
last
not
year.
like last year's at all.
Swagger. If you turn that
However,
This is
swagger-
us good before.
Thank you.
However, thank you. However, I've had this year. I'm gonna just go out and say I like it, but we're gonna get into it as soon as Josh pours his. He was cleaning our glasses.
So last year I did not have it in bottle product. I
Wow.
had it on
Draft.
tap.
Yep.
Okay,
I
yeah,
had it
I
on
do
draft.
Yeah.
I did not enjoy last year's
So-
at all. The
so-
year before, absolutely loved it.
What kind of
I'm
pour
gonna
were
guess
you
that
guys
he's gonna
doing?
get it on draft again this year. Christina also doesn't just work for us. She works at another little winery / bottle shop.
We were, but because of COVID issues, we decided that unfortunately it is a pretty expensive beer and it was going to be right on the edge of stuff. So Founders also comes in only quarter barrels. We tend to do sixtels at that location.
Oh, that's right. They are.
So it tends to be a little bit pricier.
And which
And
beer is
didn't
made
know
for
if we were
it's
gonna have to
just
sit
too,
on
it's
it,
just a hair
so-
too big for what you need.
You
And
Your guys'
unfortunately,
tap room's a little more intensive than ours. We run 2 taps here. You guys are running
we were running 10 at the other spot. Yeah.
8 out of
so,
1 box too, and that's heavy duty. That's why you guys run the 6 barrels.
Yeah.
So
We
Mas
are
Agave.
doing it,
This is a Goza. This is an Imperial Goza.
which you all know
Um,
that I'm a fan of.
Well, both of us are.
Which is technically a style that doesn't exist, but
This,
We discussed that
this
last
has
week.
been a
Goza
tough
style.
This has been a tough style for Nick to get into, but slowly, as you guys have been watching through a year of this show, there have been some Gozas that have won my heart.
All right. So
And,
this,
and vice versa. Like I
So-
was an IPA fan, but now that you make me try different ones, I found a few more that I've enjoyed. Vice versa.
this
Yeah.
smells amazing.
So
That's
thi-
often what it takes with new categories.
just so you know, this is a lime Goza with that is with agave and it's aged in tequila barrels.
And if anybody knows, tequila is a way to my heart. I
Tequila makes
love
the clothes fall off.
Tequila. So I'm always a fan of this style.
Well, I'm more of like 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor.
Yeah.
Like todo se paga en el piso, no?
I'm a tequila fan, so
So
the smell is wonderful. It's got that kind of lime juice, but also lime,
salt,
like
and then
every
there's a little
like
cream.
So by and large,
It smells like a
the
margarita.
Gozas that have won my heart are the margarita tasting Gozas.
it's essentially a margarita in a glass.
Now, this is not your frozen light white tequila margarita. This is your Cadillac
I'm actually
Cointreau golden.
I'm actually gonna go a little bit different. This isn't margarita in glass to me. This year, this is key lime pie in glass.
Key lime.
It
Oh
is,
yeah.
It's very limey. It's very creamy.
Oh, it's so good. It's
The
mildly
salt is
sweet,
very.
but it's agave
just
sweet,
enough there.
not like
It's like
sugar
a crust.
sweet.
Yep, exactly.
It's
Just
definitely a lot less tequila this year, I feel like, than it was last year. Last year legit just tasted like margarita.
Maybe they got new barrels last year, and this year's the second year they're using it.
And
Yeah.
we'll time out. Again, I am a tequila fan, which we just talked about. It was so much like this weird, astringent, like fake tequila. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very, very boozy.
Yeah, I don't
It
drink
was
Cuervo.
very, very like
Whiskey, that's really
unbalanced. There was just something about last year that I did not enjoy. This year, it tastes
So,
almost like a completely different
Can I
beer.
ask guys, what's the percentage? That's important to know with this beer.
It's pretty high.
It's 10.
Okay, last year it was 11.2.
11 or 11.2, 11.5,
Okay, yeah,
something like
okay,
that.
yeah, maybe a 5. I
All,
get it.
all of that is making me lean more and more that if I was gonna place a bet, I would go right with what Rob said.
Say
that
this is the second year of these
year of
barrels.
And this clearly states on the bottle that this is the 2020 release.
Yeah. This is.
So
I am not interested in drinking a whole 6-pack of this, nor would I necessarily pair this with my dinner. But after dinner, if I was like, oh, do I want a beer, key lime pie? Get this. It is both.
It does have that that really good liminess, a very mild salt to kind of like counterbalance the sour tartness that the lime will give you. But then there comes the cream. And that may be the maltiness, because look, it's got a nice little color on it. And maybe that creaminess is coming from a malt content.
Texas feed.
I'm going to say that I can easily take a 6-pack of this
Oh,
out to the beach with a little beach bonfire at night and enjoy the rest of the night and wake up the next morning right where I was sitting.
I was going to say, if I do that, you're finding me on the beach next to that campfire.
It's glass, so don't take it to the beach.
That's right. Don't take it to the beach.
It's a glass can. Do not take it to the beach. I repeat. Save them for the house.
I will say what this reminds me
National
of
Oceans
most
Day.
is like if I've had like the ideal situation for me to have this, like I had a rough day and like to the point where as soon as I get home, open the door, close the door, like just kind of face palm myself a little bit for a second.
Like our Saturday.
And just kind of think about it, and then I go in the fridge, and this is the first one. This is the first beer I grab, and I crack it, and I sit in complete silence for about 47 seconds, and take a few sips, and then cut some music on. Bam, right there.
Yeah.
It tastes like
It's
relaxation.
so good
and
this year, guys.
What I gather from both Rob and Josh's there is it's more of a solace moment for these guys. And they're both talking about the fact that they'll throw multiples in a 6-pack, where one of the statements from me is, there's no way I'm getting home with a 6-pack of these. I'm more of a social cat. This is absolutely the type of thing I want to pop open with a good friend in an afternoon, and we're going to split this flavor and talk about it.
Again, to me,
I don't mind
that's
splitting
one of
a 6-pack.
those things is that because the style is so unique, it's definitely something that you could get a non-sour beer drinker, a non-Gosa beer drinker to sit and try and possibly enjoy.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all.
I think it's great conversation material. If you like beer,
You're
if you
pulling
like
a Christina.
margaritas, if you like tequila, if you just like new things, I think you're going to like this.
So I'm going to go out on a limb. I've got news, and I'm hoping that one of the three of you will pick this next week. I got news this week that Founders did 2 Masagaves this year. They did the original, and then they did a grapefruit Masagave. Apparently they're brewing, something happened in the brewery with the grapefruit. And we originally were not getting it. I got notified today that they did another batch. It's landed in Wilmington, and we will be getting it this week.
That's exciting.
So I'm hoping
Founders likes our location, by the way.
I'm hoping that one of you guys will pick it for next week so we can at least compare.
Can we just all pick that and then we just drink 3 of them?
There we go.
That's getting back to the 6-pack and me waking up on the beach where I started my 6-pack.
It's like a lock-in, like the good old.
Yeah, as you can tell, I spent a
If I
lot
did
of
that,
time
it'd
on
be
the
more
beach
of a walkout.
yesterday.
Yeah. So anyway, maybe next week we'll have another one. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the beers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I still have a swallow left.
But does anybody have a final comment?
Cheers, you guys.
Yeah.
It's my final comment is that it's so much better than last year's.
Nice. I'm gonna get this
Can I-
ready for you,
can I-
Rob.
If you'll
Can I
just
pop
wipe it
it?
off, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. If you'll wipe the bottom off so it doesn't leak it all over the. Ooh, I think that's left around from the Moylan's.
Alright, guys.
Moylan's was a little belchy. I think I hid one in there. And I hope our audio's alright. Josh and I have a suspicion we're not getting audio the best way we intend right now.
I think Josh
We had some
doesn't have that
difficulties
suspicion.
earlier.
I'm just trying to continually stomach the burps that I've been like.
We did a bubbly.
expressing.
So this is not Reuniti, okay?
No, but I love
This
popping
is
a
this
bottle.
is a California sparkling rosé. We got it in this week. We also got the sparkling brut.
Do not hit yourself on camera.
You're making
Don't tell me
very
what
nervous.
to do.
If you hit anyone, please hit
Well,
Rob.
that's
Why
what
am I
not to
making
do.
you nervous?
Nick will never
It's
tell
not
you
my
what to
first
do.
rodeo.
Nick will show you what not to do. Look, I literally warned you about what not to do.
Here you go.
Okay.
It's a little hat.
Hey, every cork has its cage.
All right, ready, guys?
Every cork has its cage.
Pop
Nice.
the weasel.
So Christina did exactly what you're not supposed to do with sparkling wine.
And I'm doing it again in a heartbeat.
If you are in a fine dining restaurant and you get a bottle of sparkling wine and the server
Grabs
pops
the
cork,
chef's knife and chops it in half, you should probably find
they
a
have
new-
not been properly trained. So the proper way in a
You
public
twist the
setting
bottle, not the cork.
is to
Hold
turn
the
it,
cork,
turn the bottle
turn the
enough,
bottle.
and gradually let the gas out.
That's right. A,
No, I wanted the
a
pop.
soft off gassing. Well, you will
Let me
notice.
celebrate. I wanted the
For
pop.
those of who really
Christina's
want to listen,
celebrating. It is her birthday tomorrow.
Yay!
celebrations, people like popping bottles. However, Rob's right. The true aficionado will notice when you
To
pop a
release
bottle
the
that hard,
gas
it's going to shoot back in and it will create the steam layer right in the
that
top.
you saw at the top of the bottle.
So go back and slow mo it. It's actually really cool to look at, but you'll see a little cloud develop in the top of the bottle,
Also,
and that shows you open the cork.
I think we've all tasted this except for.
I think I tried a
Josh?
sample. Yeah, I barely remember.
I have had it.
I think Josh tried it. He was actually working when.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were here when the rep came.
Oh,
Best
I don't
Chinese
think
chef
I
ever.
tried this though.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, I think I tried the
Oh gosh.
Tannette.
Yeah, he had us try that one thing that was.
Oh,
You're
and then,
welcome.
then there was the.
That's I
the-
made that happen.
Scotch.
The
barrel.
day ruiner.
Yeah.
Scotch aged red wine. That's
That wasn't the tenant. The tenant we actually got.
no, I
The Tennant is so good.
Did you see?
I almost pulled that tonight.
Did you see how
so good.
dusty the capsules were on the Tennant? Like how
Yeah,
long
it's
has that
good.
stuff been sitting
I don't
around?
care.
good. It's good.
All right, back
All
to
right,
this one,
so
guys.
back to
Let's
this
keep
one.
with the bottle
All right,
real quick,
so-
Rob.
Since it's mine, this is the Rambunctious and Radiant Rosé California Sparkling from Lodi, California.
Up a hair.
Oh, sorry, I was behind the bottle. This is a California Sparkling. This is a rosé. Lot of very classic rosé flavors to it,
Yeah.
but it's got the
Kind of
bubbly
like
going on with it.
strawberries and grapes.
Strawberries, cream.
Good bubble.
I have a buddy who works in wine at a place in New York City, in Manhattan, and unfortunately,
New York
they've
City.
been having their own COVID problem. However, this is called Rosé Mention, and I've mentioned it before, but they pretty much have been, for the last
I like
3 years, have been telling people all about sparkling rosé and just how awesome of a beverage this is. And for anybody who wants to begin to learn more about the wine world, sparkling rosé is a great way to transition from being a sweet wine drinker to actually
more of
drinking wine.
Yeah.
So yes, this does
I
have
agree.
a definite sweetness to it.
Yeah.
Not
it's-
overpowering
Oh, it's
sweetness.
sweet.
There's
Not overpowering
fruit,
sweetness.
there's
It's
sweetness, there's
fruity.
textures, there's bubbles, so there's everything inviting about a beverage. There's color, but
Unless
not too much.
it's insanely sweet, like a true big sugar content, sometimes on my palate, bubbles trick me into thinking it's not quite as sweet.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, does everybody
I-
Bubbles
experience
I-
that?
have a dry
So sometimes
flavor.
bubbles kind of trick me into like, oh, this is kind of like light and bubbly, but it does still have a
It's
sweetness.
amazing
thought
what
that
carbonic
bubbles-
acid will do.
I
Bubbles
don't-
are part of the
I
description.
don't
of the
remember
brew,
what
I
the
believe.
grapes were in this then.
I don't remember either. He told me to.
Yeah, I'm feeling really upset that I don't remember the grapes because
There was definitely a soft oaked white somewhere in there.
I want to say there was some Pinot Noir in there though.
And would not surprise me also the big fruit, just grapey fruit.
Let's see if we can find it.
This is
There's
delightful.
a Pinot Noir, Chenin Blanc.
This tastes like crump juice.
Crump juice.
This is
So
a,
you're not a fan of it.
No, I mean like I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like this tastes like a party. Like it makes me want this. Like,
So I
would
definitely
want to
see
drink
this
this at a party.
this would definitely be like a nice table toast for a wedding reception or something like that.
This
You
is
drop
big.
a bottle of this on each table instead of having the whole fountain of champagne. This is way more cool.
So Yeah.
What's our price point? Can I just bring that up right now? Sometimes when I don't know what else to talk about with wine,
No, I
I'm
mean,
just gonna ask,
It's
how much is this?
It's 14. It's 14.
That's about what I
14
figured.
for bubbles. That's not.
So
I'd be upset
I
if I
think-
went above 18 or so, but you know, there's nothing upsetting about the flavor. So it's fun, it's light, it does not hang long. For the texture, I feel off of what I was talking about, the soft whites, the butteriness, it does not linger on the palate. The bubbles chase that away, it clears out.
So yeah, this has got it really confuses my palate at times. Like Christina said with the bubbles. One taste I'm getting strawberry, but then the next taste I'm getting the slight little almond going on. But then
I've recently got on to actual almond wine, and to me, I don't taste almond.
Almond wine, they make wine from almonds, not to digress, but
that's kind of like almond
And,
milk.
okay,
Where do you
I'm
find
gonna-
cow's spawn?
and I still can't buy
I'm
milk.
gonna out myself on this because this was a 2019 discovery for me.
Vegetarian.
I don't. Well, time out. I don't have cable. Like, I don't watch like reality TV. I don't get reality commercial. Like, I don't know. I didn't know. A little embarrassing. I didn't know that gypsies were real people.
Yes.
Not just a thing people
Having
call.
dated a woman from Romania, yes.
I thought it was a
definitely
I thought it
real
was like a way of life
people.
or a
And
lifestyle.
Romanians hate them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a lifestyle or a way of life. I didn't realize it was actually had like true families.
Are
like it's
Vikings
insane.
actually gypsies?
At
Do what?
Are
gypsy
Vikings
weddings,
actually gypsies?
apparently they drink almond champagne and almond wine.
Yeah,
like
almond
that's
wine,
their
yeah.
like go-to.
My family was
Thing?
blessed by gypsies when I was a child.
When you're following the nut harvest.
So that was new for me. So we at my other location have it. So I tasted it there.
And the fruits
And-
and the nuts.
I don't get the creaminess.
You don't know that?
Not as much. Maybe it's because I've had like strict almond, and maybe that's why I'm not picking it up because that flavor is intense to me.
The most I get from this, like the carbonation is a little aggressive for me on this.
I like bubbles.
This is
though.
why I like rosé. I got to learn that
I can
Christina
find
did
it.
not know that gypsies was a real thing.
It was a new thing for me, you guys.
I would argue
This
that,
isn't-
as many people are, that racial assignations are simply just a social construct. So, once again, I could say, is it really a thing?
Apparently there's a whole show on TLC that will prove you wrong.
Yeah, my gypsy wedding or something like
Yeah,
that.
okay, so like the shows on TV are a lot different than the people that actually live there. I can tell you that one.
Let's get back to the rosé. I
Sure.
enjoyed that diatribe, but before I insult any more good givings of our
It's got a really
wonderful
pretty
world.
color. I mean, it's got that basic. It's not coming quite off on camera. It's coming off a little bit orangey on camera, to be completely honest. But to me, it has a really pretty pink hue.
Mhm.
So
Well, and
this is one of those
it
times
should.
that I wish we had the wine rep come in and do the tasting with us.
Like, and hang out and talk.
Yeah, because he knows the ins and outs of
of
this wine.
bubbles.
Especially
Is
since-
this method champenois or what? It tastes like forced carb to me.
I don't think it is method champenois, just because.
The bubbles seem a little big.
Well, one, I think
And
the
dry.
I think the
Very
price
forced
is
carb.
not
oh, God.
indicative of
Oh.
method champenois.
Lots of bubble.
There's
No
way
Don
too much-
Ho, no tiny bubbles.
No, there's way too much
They probably
bubbles
forced it in.
plus it just it's way too inexpensive for the amount of work that it takes. to make.
So, do they gas the bottles?
Probably.
Yeah, it has the forced carb.
Where
Does anybody have anything else like
Josh-
super?
Josh and I worked with a winery that did
So
percolated carb.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what to call that. Like they
It-
carved the vat. We
it-
wouldn't carve the bottles.
It's no matter what you do, it's still forced carbonation. Whether you prefer to do the bottles or the tank,
I know.
it's still forced carbonation. So
So I guess what we're gonna see is
you get slightly
You're gonna-
flatter wine if you do it in the tank versus the bottle.
you're gonna get a more aggressive bubble, which might be the actual desired aesthetic of like what we're going for with a
Yeah.
rosé sparkling wine. We want something that pops the cork. It carries its bubble. I walk around. 30 minutes later, I still got bubbles in my glass.
I think it's gonna do that because it's got a lot of
Whereas
bubbles to it.
champagne, you don't drink that right away. It flattens
It's out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's that's like a yeast style versus being just pushed in with CO2.
And we
So
also
like that's a
noticed-
natural reaction, not something that's been
The
forced.
winemaker that we worked with, he explained to me in so many words, like, when you're drinking carbonated wine, you will get more intoxicated far quicker. And it is a complicated chemical reaction in your body where if there are CO2 bubbles in it, if it's carbonated, the alcohol will hit you quicker. It's something to do with how it's incorporated into your bloodstream.
Who's not down with that?
But, none of us really want to sit through a science show right now. I'm not Bill Nye.
I would say though, anything that
Yeah,
happens
that's
starts
fine.
quick, tends to finish quick, and when things like alcohol buzzes peel away real quick, they leave you with more of that like, whoa, headache. Like
This makes
so
me.
it's literally gonna dehydrate each cell because
I want barbecue sliders with this.
Ooh.
yeah,
So
rosé
just as a
always
side
does
note,
that.
this is a Robert Mondavi wine.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. We were trying to figure it out.
So
They have pretty like basic labeling. They don't put full names out. They don't do anything like that.
Yeah, doesn't
it is
Mondavi have
mentioned
one
on
that's
the.
just the M?
It is it is on the back, but like
Yeah, that's more of the higher end, I think.
yeah.
But maybe this is kind of like pulling from that labeling scheme, and it's giving us something that's more like approachable and pop art style.
Because it does have a little bit more of a sweetness, a little bit more of a fruit forward nature.
Like that is a millennial label. Look at that thing.
I'm thinking you're right with maybe the Pinot Noir.
Yeah, I just something tells me there's Pinot Noir in here.
Pinot Noir, Chardonnay.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Oak
So while
Chardonnay
we're
is some
finishing
I mean,
these
if it's got any white in it,
But the almond, the apple,
maybe some Chardonnay.
the
Well,
vanilla.
I don't think
the
I
soft
don't,
butter.
I don't think it's oak chard. I think it's
No,
just
it's
stainless.
crisp Chardonnay.
Okay. Well, you guys
And you may have
mentioned
some Levitra in
almonds,
there also.
and we did talk butter, so those are two things that are going to come from a medium toast American oak Chardonnay.
Or it could be just from like the light skin, like
Mhm.
you leave the skins in for the blush aspect,
That's-
and you'll get that
absolutely.
simulation of like that butter.
Especially with something like Pinot, which is a softer tannin. So it's not
Also,
gonna
give
push
me an
it to
oak
Velcro.
Chardonnay all day. It's
Yeah.
another go-to wine for me. But
You can blend
what other?
those too.
So you mentioned barbecue. For me, because I can't do the barbecue, I would do maybe like a barbecue jackfruit.
Yeah, I mean you can always jackfruit is the
But I think the barbecue sauce would be so good with this.
which by the way if you haven't had jackfruit before, anyone watching this,
It's so
if
good.
you don't eat meat but you want something that you can make taste like meat and feel
It's
like
so
meat,
yummy.
jackfruit is the best thing ever, or breadfruit.
Okay, it is breadfruit. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because you can
It's
get that
so
pulled,
good, you guys.
you can almost get a pulled pork texture out of
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
too.
And
it's
that's
such-
what helps, I think, a lot is the texture of it because it does pull apart like that. It
Yeah.
gets very shredded.
Down here,
I
it's
had
kind of hard to
spaghetti
find,
squash
but
barbecue.
you can find it.
There's a restaurant on Oak Island that carries
Have
it.
you guys had barbecued
does it.
spaghetti squash?
I haven't. I've had just.
I had somebody make like barbecue spaghetti squash sliders, and
I'm down with that too.
yeah, pretty crazy. And apparently you can fry the whole thing, like a fried spaghetti.
I'm
almost.
down with that.
I've done squash and spaghetti squash like grilled on the grill.
Yeah.
I didn't add any sauce to it to make it barbecue, but I've done grilled.
I do think that the fact that look, the veggie got us going, but that talks about the palate here with the rosé is that it's really open-ended. You could go with a protein-driven, really sweet, like barbecue type dish, but you could also back it off and work with your
Maybe it's like a
cheeses
big
and your vegetables. Mhm.
veggie
I
medley.
don't see like when people say barbecue is sweet, to me barbecue's not sweet because that's not.
Well,
the part
yeah,
that
you
I
like that
barbecue.
vinegar, and I meant to ask what kind of sauce Josh was really referring.
I could do it with both, more of a Eastern Carolina like vinegar based sauce because that's where my heart lies. But I could also do like a thick Kansas City, but with a little spice added to it. Because I think the mild sweetness in this is going to counterbalance that little spice and like that like sweet and spicy Kansas City style.
Makes sense.
I have to say, I 100% agree with you on that. But my heart is in the Eastern North Carolina barbecue style.
All right, guys.
Let's go ahead and start.
Let's go ahead and do our review.
While we're finishing up these glasses, let's go ahead and review. Josh, start us off with your Vanishing Tides, Mother Earth.
Vanishing Tides, first up, thumb and a half. Totally enjoyed it. It's not the absolute best lager I've ever had, so I can't give it a solid 2 thumbs or rant about it. I mean, it's really good. It's a really solid representation of the style. It's tasty, it's light, it's easy. Am I gonna buy it and drink it? Absolutely. I have no way saying anything bad about this. It's good. It's got everything I want from a lighter lager that I'm taking out with me to the beach or drinking on the deck or just drinking on the couch or if I want to drink a beer. I mean, it's like everything I want if I want a lager. Yep. Like right there, hands down.
Can I follow up on that? Because you said 1.5, right?
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go full 2.
Wow.
Because here's why. There was nothing missing from this. There was nothing else I wanted out of it. Like it was exactly what I wanted from a lager. So I think I'm gonna go full 2 on it because, again, I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't missing anything. It's exactly what I anticipated, and it was a well-made lager. I do love the can. Like I don't love the texture of the can as much, but I love the can. I like the brewery's semi-local. I like that they use a lot of recycled products. Like that is all adding into that 2-point score. But again, I wasn't missing anything at all. So I'm gonna go full 2 on it.
For me, it's just hard to beat Urkel on tap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I'm just going full 2 because I'm not missing.
So Christina affected my rating a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, just because she said it's a lager and it's not missing anything she's expecting.
Mm-hmm.
That made me think. Yeah, it is a lager that's not missing anything that I'm expecting from a lager. It is a decent little lager. I was gonna give it a 1. Solid 1, but a 1. I mean, I'm gonna go 1.25 for that, just because she affected my thought process just a little bit on that. Again, like Josh said, I'm definitely gonna buy this. It is a solid lager. For me, we have a lot of solid lagers though, and we're getting more solid lagers.
So I'm anxious to see,
And is this going to make me buy it versus the other solid lagers? It's a 50-50 toss-up. So I think 1.25 is there for me just because solid beer, but it's not making me want or miss anything from a lager. It is what it is, and it's a good little beer. But we have there's a lot of other
good little lagers sitting on there
competing with it. So 1.25.
Yeah. I'm just gonna lead in and just say thumbs up. All right. There's nothing negative to say about this beer. I can't even complain about the texture of the label. The same thing I think Christina's complaining about, I'm actually digging because I see this as a beer that is associated with outdoor activities or around the water.
It gives you a little more
It's
grit.
in a can, you got some grit, you might be in the sun, a little condensation, you dig it out of the cooler, it's got grit. This is not just a lager, this is a light lager. At 4.2%, we're essentially talking the same percentage as Bud Light, the same color as Bud Light. This is a craft competitor for the Bud Light fan. That guy or gal who comes out to your deck party and it's like, I only drink Bud Light, and you're like, not anymore. You now drink Mother Earth Vanishing Tide. Like, this thing it is all of the appeal of what we see in the mass producing market with all of the stewardship of craft beer, right down to, like Christina was talking about, the environmental stewardship. And when we're talking about beer that you just crush and toss, having a beer that's like, well, I cannot litter this. Like, I cannot litter with this beer. Like, they'll come take this out of my hand before I'm allowed to litter. Like, think about that. This brewery would find you before the law would for like trying to say
for
that
sure.
ways. And so there's a lot of good feelings that go with this beer. Do I think this is the sundowner choice for watching Space Force?
Yeah.
You're probably done drinking this beer by about like 5 in the afternoon on like realistic thinking.
Or at a
I know
very
what you're talking
astonishing rate
Yeah.
after a very long
I know
taxing
yeah.
shift.
Which I have
Yeah,
witnessed.
this is flavorful, this is refreshing. You could pound it, you could sip it, because it doesn't have this aftertaste. So every time you come to it, it's just another fresh bite.
Yeah.
But do I see like, the 10-hour session with this beer where you're like, just like, oh, that beer wrecked me last night. Like, no way, you're gonna have a big old
Yeah.
pile.
Yeah, this beer is definitely one that can be crushed very quickly.
Yep.
So, in the end, I'm gonna say thumbs up because it's just really well done. No single negative point, but I gotta leave that top end of the scale to
Maybe
higher
a competitor.
ABVs, aged beers,
Sure.
different ingredients. I'm just saying, there's so much in our beer world. If I don't vote a good lager at just a thumb, I'm messing up.
We'll continue, but with your Moylan's.
Sure, and I'm gonna put this slightly above that. You said 125 for that other beer. I'm gonna go with 125 on this. Did I think that I was expecting something a whole lot better? Honestly, I didn't set my expectations too high, and maybe Moylan's, you secretly did that with your labeling. Like, while it's consistent with your labeling, I saw a little campiness to this. Like, you're almost making fun of the whole haze craze, and that's what you named the beer. Like, you're literally making fun of the haze craze, and right down to the fact, it is literally the haziest beer we've ever seen poured in here. Christina was chasing squirrels around her glass, and she still wasn't sure whether they were making her appetized or sick. Like, that is haze craze. It makes you dizzy, makes you really question what you're drinking. What is this categorically? And it did, because we were everywhere from brute IPA to creamy IPA to is this even an IPA, and what the heck does live ale mean? This is what Moylan's does best, is they give you a fine craft product, totally American produced, and they make you ask questions about beer.
Excellent. Josh?
Solid thumb. Solid hazy IPA. Again, I don't even know how many hazy IPAs at this point. Thank you guys.
That's true.
And I had my fair share before we even started doing this podcast. But as far as this goes, with it being can condition, knowing how hard that is to do, gets a solid thumb. It tastes good. It's a good IPA. What I do appreciate about it is that it's more of an IPA than just like hazy, juicy, fruity. I don't feel like I'm biting into a Starburst when I take a sip, which is kind of nice because that's not what I'm looking for when I drink an IPA. Personally, myself, I remember when IPAs were bitter.
Yeah.
And this one definitely had that bitter aspect to it. At 1.25, I want to adjust my rating right there. Just because it had the bitterness to it. It had a slight aggression to it, and I did like that. I'm not crazy about hazy IPAs on a personal level, but this one was really good. And the best thing was, compared to the bubbly wine that I'm currently burping, that's coming back up a little bits. This is obviously can condition. The bubbles were small, they were tight. The head on the beer didn't go away.
Yeah, did you see the size of Rob's glass? He poured a half a glass of beer and he had a full glass of foam.
A dead
And
giveaway.
it took like the whole time for me to drink the beer before.
A dead giveaway of like bottle or can condition, a live ale, as you would say, versus one that was pasteurized and forced carbonated or put through like the tank, is the size of the bubbles and how long the head lasts. You have protein retention and things like that. It was a smooth textured beer. It was very, very well made. So solid thumb and a quarter for me. Excellent job, Moylan's. I want to have one I can see through next time.
All right, so for me, I was going to go 1.5 on this, but I read something on the can that is pushing my meter up a little bit. There's an email of a person on here at Moylan's that you can email if you like or dislike the beer. That's gutsy.
That is amazing.
Are you
It's
are
so
you going to be
cool.
sending a link of this show?
So
Email him right now.
So 175 on this guy, just
Yeah.
for the guts.
Accountability.
Just for the accountability.
So that guy is either getting a
I'm
raise
so
or
angry
getting fired.
that you saw that.
So Brendan,
like, that was.
man, I can only imagine how your email file looks.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna go 175, and here 1.5 because I like this wild aspect.
Classic bifurcation.
I like the fact that there's this wild thing going on that you can't necessarily grasp because it's still living, it's still going inside the can.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it may be a little bit different each time you have it. It may be. I also think I liked it a little bit more just because I got the particulates that nobody else did. There was
I poured a little bit.
yeah, you got a little bit of it, but I think I got enough that made a change to the flavor. And yes, we had a little bit of bitter, for me, a little bit of bitter. We had a lot tropical fruit going on for me. And then on the back end, I had this Werther's caramel going on that was just freaking nuts to me. It's making me I'm going to buy another one of these, and I look forward to trying another one.
There's a hidden part of your review, which is 1.5 for the beer. Pour this and write an email. Pour the glass. Get your laptop out. 1.75.
That's right, exactly. Because Brendan, I hope. Here's my hope. I hope when we link this to Moylan's, I hope Brendan replies back.
And he's like, actually, guys, it is.
This.
And I hope he gives us a complete breakdown of how they make it and whatnot, because this beer intrigues me. And I would 2-point scale, 1.75, 1.5 even is a really good review for me. So I'm going to go 1.75 just because he's got that email on there.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you were going to see that because I saw that way earlier and I was holding it for the review. So,
You hear that, Brendan?
very similar in reasoning, but my numbers are a little bit different. I was gonna go 1.25, and then I was gonna bump it up to 1.5 because of the email. So just a little bit skewed. But again, I agree with the fact that it was so different. Like, right now, I still don't know if I really liked it or really hated it.
No.
Like, I couldn't decide how I felt about it.
But it's making you want to buy it.
But I want to buy another one to drink it again.
Yeah.
And like that's a reason in itself to bump up the number.
I agree.
I did get some bitterness. I did get that tropical fruit. I didn't quite get the caramelly notes. Maybe that was part of those particulates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna go 1.25, going 5 because that is ballsy, and I appreciate that. And I almost want to email you.
Almost.
Like, it's insane.
Almost.
Well, Brendan, if she does email you, remember it is her birthday tomorrow. So.
It is. So, Brennan,
Don't
look for
fall
the
for
email.
it. Rob is gonna catfish you.
Alright, so let's go to the Mas Agave. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 1.5 on this one as well.
Okay.
Just because this year is a 1.5, next year's maybe a 0.75. The year after that, maybe back up to a 2. I mean,
I can understand that.
the variability to this makes me not go bigger than a 1.5. Still a nice score. Still great. It is phenomenal this year. It is pricier beer. I mean, it's only a 12-ounce bottle. You're looking at $4.75 on this. It is barrel aged. It is high octane, so you're getting your money's worth that way.
It's 2 beers in a glass.
Yeah.
Technically, at that point,
Really good limey flavor. It's funny because it's like last year they gave me too much tequila. This year I think I might have
Agreed.
wanted a little bit more. Still there, but very, very much in the background. So solid 1.5 from Founders Mas Agave.
You read that, Josh?
I'm gonna go with a 1.5. Solid representation of the non-existent Imperial Ghost style.
Solid representation of the ghost.
It's a great beer. It's a delicious beer. I'm pretty sure that if you look back in the past, I probably gave the last one a 2. That's probably because of the effect of all of the alcohol involved. Taste-wise, it's delicious. This is a great beer. The only thing that I have to even dock it for is the fact that it's so deceptive this year. Because the booziness is toned down. Like, if I'm drinking a 10%er, personally, I need to know that I'm drinking a 10%er. Masking booziness is cool, but if it's strong, you should still make sure that there's something in there
Like a blinking
that
LED.
reminds you.
I think my review is going to, for me, explain that.
Yeah, I just need something in there to remind me that, yes, by the way, this is 10%. And it's so masked this year. I mean, it's lower ABV this year too, so which would probably akin to that. But it's a delicious beer. Am I gonna buy more of this? I don't even know how much of this I drank since Rob brought it in.
Yeah.
And my father,
I know somebody bought a whole case.
my father
I didn't buy a
absolutely
case.
adores this stuff, and I can say that because my mother doesn't use the internet.
Oh, Brian Miller.
And yeah, my father absolutely adores this beer.
That was a good joke. You guys are gonna have to rewatch to get his joke.
Yeah. No, so it's a solid, absolute beer. All the flavors that I wanted to see in this beer were there. Delicious. Heck, I even told one of our coworkers that didn't really drink beer, but she drank margaritas. It's like, well, if you're gonna pick a beer,
This would
This
be
is-
the one. Yeah.
I cannot ever in my head think of a different beer that you should try than this one right here.
Yeah.
And they nailed that one on the head. You know, it's got that margarita, that salt, that citrus, that slight bit of tequila.
Can I jump in on your thing real quick?
Applebee's
An
margarita.
Applebee's margarita, the ones that they sell for $2
Mhm.
that don't really have any tequila in them.
I thought it was
But
like babies.
salt a rim, put it over ice,
I-
make it more of a cocktail style. That could work.
Which would probably make a brewer turn over in their grave
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah, but think about that though. Like if the salt's barely there.
I get so
I've tried it
mad.
at least once.
I
So
get those.
one
1.5.
One
Nick?
time.
Nick?
You guys ever get those pre-made frozen margaritas?
No.
Like,
No, I'm not a
you
frozen
try
gal.
it, and then you're like, wait, that didn't even have tequila in it. And then you look, and it's like made with apple wine or something. I'm not saying that's what this tastes
Are you
like.
talking about the little bags you put in the freezer? and
That's
you
what
forget?
TGI Fridays.
So, Nick, your rating.
So my rating is actually pretty positive. I think Mas Agave, all right, I'm just gonna go after the brand, the logo, the label. Mas Agave is a really cool beer. It's worth checking out. Now that said, I'm gonna give this one like a 1-2. It's just under the 1.25. All right. Last year's maybe give it a 1.5, 1.25. Last year was also my first experience with Mas Agave. People were anxious to show me. They couldn't believe I knew Founders but didn't know this beer. What I'm really excited to learn now, my second year trying this, is that this is a beer that changes year to year. So I feel like just that alone takes me up to the 1.25. Like, hey, I got to try the 2020 Mas Agave versus the 2019, and the label's stamped with it. And then we can start thinking about how long have they had these barrels? What was tequila like that year? What did Blue Agave do 7 years ago? You know, because Blue Agave is one of these things, kind of like grapes, where weather fluctuates how tequila tastes.
Yeah.
If it's really wet, you're gonna have like this spread out taste. If it's really like dry, you're gonna have this tight sugary taste. Guess what, guys? It's been
I know it just went through
really
your head.
wet in Mexico. Those storms have been
It's your
pounding
birthday. I know
down.
it's gone through your head.
And so think about how that tequila could start getting more and
It went
more
through yours, too.
spread out.
Only after you laugh.
Okay, and so whether it's the same barrels from last year that have already been extracted, or we're dealing with a different vintage tequila that has a little different taste and feel. I'd really be curious to know. My guess is they probably bought a bunch of freaking barrels like however many years ago. And that's it. Yeah, but my thing once
He's
you
still
thought-
burping too.
He was like,
That's not a burp. That's me like hiding in the laughter.
Okay,
But I
alright.
keep burping.
So for me, I guess I really like this and nobody else did.
That's not true.
I'm going 2.
by the way, Blue Gap is the most neutral.
So here's why. Since we've opened the shop, this is our 4th year of having Mas Agave. Agreed. Last year, I think I gave it maybe a 1. It didn't do it for me. I think a lot of the same reasons that Christina said. It had very, very tequila taste. This one, here's what it is for me. This vintage, so to speak, this is my dessert beer.
After dinner.
So you said something about, it's sweet, it's, it made me think when you were talking, this is what I'm having for dessert versus a port. So I don't mind the booziness to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I have a sweet port for dessert. This is my dessert beer now, as long as I can get it while it's out. Versus a port, because a port has booziness.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To me, the booziness on this gives a little more sweetness and lends it to that
Finish of the meal.
that key lime pie taste
Mm-hmm.
that finishes
Yeah.
the meal. Now I said earlier that I could also take this out to the beach for a bonfire, but I would wake up there the next day.
Surrounded by your glass bottle.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'd pick
And
them
Bud
up.
Lights.
And make
Obviously,
sure.
Rob goes to the beach a lot.
Yeah, not. However, but I'm just saying, this is I could put a 6-pack away from this.
Yeah.
Regret it the next day, but
Enjoy the night before.
enjoy the whole night. Solid 2 for me. Much better than last year, and out of the 4 years, it's probably 1 or 2. I think it really is up there.
I can't put my finger on the year that I think we both were like, what is this?
Yeah.
Because that
Mine
was
was
back
probably-
way before
mine
we did
was-
this.
So
Yeah.
this is probably 2 because there I
There was
remember
one-
There was that one
Which
year where
was
it's like
same.
you got it in, you didn't know what it was. I
To
didn't.
me, it
Even,
was
I had
like
never heard of it.
2016 or 2017. It literally knocked my socks off.
So it
And
must have been
then-
2017 because we just opened.
And then last year, and then the next year was good, similar, but not quite the
Yeah.
same.
Must have been that
Last
drier
year
agave.
was awful.
Well, I mean, there has been issues with agave.
Yeah, I don't think that
Yes.
it's a bad thing saying that last year was
I
not the most
did
popular.
not like last year's at all.
And I do look forward to trying the grapefruit next week.
Next
if
week.
anybody picks it. Okay, so moving on to this guy. This is the Rambunctious and Radiant. It was a rosé, sparkling from Lodi, California. It is a Robert Mondavi winery. So I'm gonna say when I first tasted this with the rep was feeding me all these keywords. He got to me.
You got in your gray matter.
He got my gray matter. I liked it a lot more then than I liked it tonight.
Oh no.
So this is a decent little wine. For me though, this is an introductory wine. Okay, it's $14. I think it's a little overpriced for an introductory wine. I may have to revisit that price point. I don't know.
Or just throw a sale.
So for me, this got like a 0.75 at best.
That's rough. Can I follow up here? Because I'm gonna say I feel like very similar sentiments, but like the opposite way that Rob went with this was I tasted with him at the same time.
You took
0.75, is that what he said? Awesome. Yeah, so I gotta throw like a whole thumbs up here. I'm gonna make up that difference because when I tasted with the rep at the same tasting as you, I thought, man, this is simplistic. This is front door material. It's got the bubbles. I could sell this to anyone curious about sparkling rosé. Now I'm tasting it. There will be people coming back for a second bottle. There are some nuances in there.
So here's my criticism with this. As a rosé, this is going to be detrimental to rosé sales.
Okay, it's gonna skew the opinion of what
rosé is.
So, I think I started off in the tasting by saying this is not Riunite. It almost could be for me.
Yeah.
The more I had it, the more I was let down with it.
I think the things that kept us consistent with me were there was a little bit of nuance of oak tones in there, so that tells me, hey, look, this is not just sparkling juice. This is a blended rosé. Were we able to totally track that down just by tasting? We thought maybe Pinot Chard, but we're not like convinced. And so that leaves me a lot of vagueness. That's why I'm just gonna hang it at a thumb instead of like going any further. Do I think that we have rosés in this shop that are far more complex, can walk people right out into the prairie grasses while they can smell the roses and taste a little melon? Yeah, we've got those for you. This is not that. This is like grape juice, sparkling, and color. And it's fun. This thing will bubble for the full 10 minutes that you're holding it, and from the first sip to last, it's bubbly.
This is my last sip.
But there is just not much dynamism to this. You taste the same thing in each sip that you taste, and then it cuts out and goes. So as sparkling rosé goes, that's great. As rosé as a category goes, that might be a little rough, because rosé is definitely known to be something that opens up as you drink it. The cold sip versus your warm sip.
So for me, sparkling and rosé, they have to hit both ends. We had one here, and it took
Granite?
It took forever to sell. And if you've had that bottle, that was fantastic.
I drank my fair share.
But it was the hardest thing to sell because it was pricier, and people didn't want that. There were rosé drinkers didn't want to try it, and the sparkling didn't want to try it. But that was fantastic. That would have got 2 thumbs up from me. This is not that.
I think you'll get some rebuys. I don't think this is for the complex wine drinkers. Again, I think the
I agree
label
with you.
says it all. That is a millennial label. I look at that. It's set in black. It's got pink. Honestly, if I just finished protesting up in Raleigh and I wanted to kick back with some of my girls while we peel the face masks off, that's the stuff right there.
Man, I'm
Josh?
so glad you said something that we have to edit out now. Okay. Wow. Just give me a second to figure out how to follow up to that catastrophe right there. Okay, so I'm gonna have to give this one 2 separate ratings.
Yes.
On a personal level, I absolutely despise this.
We knew it.
This is everything I would never want in a bubbly that I was drinking.
Everything I never want.
It's too sweet and all that. So
This is where we're not just trying to sell what we have in house.
No, but this is also my own personal palate, and if you somehow have the same palate as me, well, props to you for being able to suffer through the world as you have. But there's over 6 billion people on the planet, and no one probably tastes things exactly the same way I do. Now, as far as like the approachability of this wine and like the sellability of this is an absolutely phenomenal wine. For someone who, have you had a champagne toast at the bar at midnight when the ball dropped? Was it good champagne? Probably not, if they gave it to you free in a plastic flute. But did it taste good? Did you like it? Absolutely. Cool. Sweet. And bubbly wine is long and dark road to go down. Rosé wine, as all wines are, once you start on like one path and then you realize that there are like 25 different ways you can go, and there's no one to tell you which way to turn left or right.
Or not to turn left or right.
So exactly. Sometimes you want to just go straight. And
sparkling rosé is the Nook with 8 paths.
No, I'd say all wine would be the Nook with 8 paths. And you know, there are people that take pride in always making the right call, and who's to say they're right? Yeah. You know, like honestly, like this is a great wine for people who like things a little bit sweeter and a little bit bubbly. That's the exact opposite of my palate. I can't tell you how much of an antithesis that is to my existence. But there are a lot of people out there that enjoy that. And if you enjoy that slightly sweeter taste and you want something bubbly and fun, this makes me think of a party. This is a great party wine. So from a level where like you're at like a pool party and you brought a bottle to somebody's house, I'm gonna give it like 1.5.
So this is the toast bubbly.
Absolutely.
So you've got like a differential of an entire thumb right now.
This is you buying a case for a party and doing a toast for the party, and this is what you're pouring.
Absolutely.
This is how Josh ends up jumping in a pool with his dots markings on.
Great entertaining.
Okay,
And
I can respect that.
And you know what? I'll drink it if I didn't pay for it.
And Josh,
if you pay for it, you're definitely drinking it, but you're...
Hell, no, if I paid for it, then I also paid for a separate case. That's what I'm drinking.
Look,
that's the way I see it. And I know that sounds really weird when I say it that way. It's just, I know my own palate. I would never pick this up off the shelf and buy it for myself. But if I was going somewhere only once, and then, but there are a lot of people out there who would absolutely enjoy this. It's just not me. But there are, oh my God, if you like that sweeter taste, this is great for you.
Like I said, Rob, there will be some who come back and buy more.
So my rating is not good, or my personal rating is not good, but my rating for people out there, like the general populace, and if you're having a party, you should probably pick up a couple bottles of this, throw it in the fridge. Somebody will drink it, and they will be happy with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright, well I'm actually gonna pull from pretty much one aspect of everything that you said. So, starting with Rob, I also tasted this with the rep at a different time, at a different place. I enjoyed it much more when I was tasting it with him. Again, he used the right words.
Yeah.
And I was also tasting a lot of other things at one time. I literally was tasting it.
Yeah.
Like, I had a sip and I was like, huh, yeah. I had a DeLuca Rosé before. It's definitely a lot drier. So, with this one, I was like, oh, we may be able to market this to sweeter drinkers. Another pink, another bubbly. So, I'm like, okay with that. Labeling. You said it was such a millennial sort of label. I think it's totally elementary and awful. I hate this labeling.
Which is why it's not a millennial label.
Look at this. It is so basic in a bad way. It's got
label,
awful font. It's this
label
weird
strikes me
paper.
Mid to upper 30s.
That's me, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
No,
Mid to upper 30s.
No, it looks
Well,
like.
I mean,
Guess where
early
Gen
30s,
X
but
ends
still.
right now? 40.
It looks like.
Yeah, I
looks
do
like
not
Guess
like
where
it at
millennials
all.
begin?
It looks like something I drew in middle school.
I
It looks
would
like
entirely
somebody
agree
didn't
with
realize
you.
that Printmaster is not a thing anymore.
Yeah,
So
I don't like it.
I'm gonna say I think it's something that OK Boomer designed based on testing the
It's
millennials. What color pink goes good? And put it on a black backdrop. Yes, and the R will have serifs like this.
Well, that's the thing.
It's like
It's
so overdone.
so inconsistent.
Yes.
The R is one font, Rambunctious and Radiant is in one font, Rosé is in one font, and California Sparkling Wine is in one
Hold on.
font.
It's
There
sparkling
are 4
wine.
different fonts
Do I
on
really
one
need-
basic label.
Do I really need grape shaped bubbles on
I
it?
hate that. Like, I
So tell us how you really feel.
cannot stand that.
I-
And it's this gross paper label. Like,
So I'm guessing.
we just do a cooler and it's gonna cool off.
I'm guessing you're giving it a 2-point rating.
Then, again, kind of, I don't want to give it 2 separate ratings. I am just gonna even them out. My personal palate, after drinking a whole glass, it's a 0.5.
Wow.
Too sweet, too bubbly. Even though I like bubbles, to me it was just there was a little bit too much to it.
It made me more like uncomfortable in more than one way, and I don't like that.
Now,
That's not just the 5-minute burp
the
you did.
semi-sellability of this wine. Again, some people are gonna like this label, so I'm gonna push. Oh, what a fun, unique label! It's not really.
So funny. That's
But also, it does have that sweetness factor that some people are going to be looking for.
Yeah.
I don't look for that.
It's your introductory bubbles sweetness.
Yeah, so personal rating was 0.5. I am going to give it a 1 just because I think I can sell it.
Okay.
The
You know what I'm saying?
I just have
Challenge accepted.
I like to view stuff like this, like from my
Because
background as a chef, like.
Challenge accepted, and I'm gonna say this, no offense, Chris, and you know if you're watching who I'm talking to, probably not gonna order another case unless
A custom order.
unless the customer says, "Oh, I absolutely love that. I'm gonna buy it all the time."
If Diana shows up and says she wants that at her wedding reception, every table, I'm gonna make sure there's
But
a bottle.
funny enough, the Brut,
I almost pulled that.
I know I enjoyed that more, even doing the back-to-back little tastings. This was okay, but the Brut to me was so much better, but that's also more my style.
Okay.
I don't often make things go longer here at the show. There's no clock in here. I don't know why you.
Cable box does not count as a clock.
No.
Okay, so anyway, real quick.
Yeah, no. With my background as a chef, one of the main things I have to remember is that I have my own palate.
Sure.
I love heavily charred black and blue steaks with peppercorns smashed into the outside and barely cooked on the outside.
I like a good applause.
Yeah, exactly. There are not like a massive amount of people in the world that like that particular flavor. There are a lot of people, but not like a huge amount. So I have to always remember that when I'm cooking for food, like cooking for people, is like you have to cook to the best palate. And I think that stuff like this is suited to the general palate.
Yeah.
Not heavily specialized.
I can agree.
And that's where I was coming from.
Okay.
And
So-
it also has a remedial label.
Is that what the R is for?
So we'll find out. We'll find out. If this ends up selling decent, we'll keep carrying. But it's one of those things.
This is one of those moments where I'm going to remind you guys, we look at wines every week. We
That's
get really
right.
picky. We look
That's
at
right.
multiple wines before we even get to the show. We're picky about this. Each of us has our own palate.
That's
You
exactly
probably
right.
learned tonight, out of all the people in this room who's got a sweet tooth for wine, strangely, it's the IPA drink.
Yeah. So okay, it's a good point there, Nick. But let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
So this was episode 53.
Yeah.
What are you drinking now? We are
Remember to
a year and 1 old.
like, comment, subscribe below. If you're watching this on YouTube,
Yeah,
please.
share the link too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
share
you're
it
on
on
Facebook,
Facebook.
share it to all of your friends because they totally want to see everything you're doing.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.